Every day, the guards would slide his meal through, and while he struggled to eat his food off the floor, he always made sure...
Oh, oh my god! Oh, the third prison escape is... Ah, damn it! How can I forget? Yo, what is happening, guys? Dr. Beastie here. Now, not too long ago, I found this very interesting Japanese prison break episode where apparently the Japanese prisoner somehow breaks out of prison not only 4+ times, but while using a bowl of soup. I'm not even joking. He literally used a bowl of soup to break out of prison. I didn't watch the actual video, but I did watch Joe's reaction to it. So if you haven't checked out his channel, please go and do. He's very hilarious. But yeah, anyways, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be reacting to the incredible Japanese prison break where the guy somehow happens to break out of prison using a bowl of soup. What was that? Was that Japanese? I could barely even... What was he saying? It sounded like gibberish to me.
This video was made possible by Dashlane.
I'm sorry, but it just sounded like gibberish.
I want to forget another password.
I don't know, maybe that's why the Asian language is so hilarious.
Japan, 1936.
Oh, damn, 1936!
He was forced to confess to a murder.
Yeah, I actually kind of forgot that it took place in 1936. I mean, I knew it took place a long, long time ago, but I thought it was like the early 40s, maybe mid-40s. But that's right, this took place before Japan went full-blown nationalist, you know, with the whole World War II bullcrap and all that stuff.
Did not commit. Falsely imprisoned in Aomori prison.
Well, that's, yeah, that's kind of authoritarian,
and
definitely.
Prosecutors were seeking the death penalty. In his
mind,
it was time to go.
Okay, so apparently he got locked behind bars for something he didn't even do or confess that he did it and is now facing the death penalty under the law! That's very crazy.
The easiest to escape. Regardless, Yoshie Shiratori had nothing to lose.
Yoshie Shiratori? Is that how you say his name? Yoshie Shiratori?
He knew there would be a 15-minute gap in the patrol time, as he had studied the guard's routine for months. And when the coast was clear, he pulled out a metal wire, which he had smuggled in from the bathhouse, and started to pick the lock.
Okay, I believe that. Like, that's very believable. Like, you could easily break out of prison by doing this. I mean, or at least your cell. I mean, trying to escape the prison, on the other hand, yeah, I mean, the security guards are gonna go crazy and beat your ass.
This was originally the metal support ring that was wrapped around the bathing buckets.
And I believe that's, a shower area.
After a few minutes of picking,
because in Japan, sorry for pausing it too many times, because in Japan, how they take their baths and stuff, it's way different than how they do in other Western nations like America or England or Canada.
Success, and his cell door swung open.
Oh!
He wasn't out of the woods yet, because there were more locked doors ahead. He knew he only had a few minutes left before the guards would...
yeah, you better hurry!
He wasted no time attempting to pick his way through the remaining security doors.
Yeah, you better freaking hurry, because if you don't, yeah, you're gonna, like, you're just gonna die right there. You're gonna die right there in 1936 in this, whatever prison facility this takes place in Japan.
He was able to make it out of the facility, but the bad news was that he was only halfway to freedom. You see, he was still well within the search perimeter, which meant at any...
Oh, damn! Oh my god, wow, that's a really big prison. Holy crap, that's almost like going to a full-blown university.
Any moment, the alarm could go off, and he'd still be caught. At 5:45 a.m., the guards returned, peering into a cell.
This ain't good.
In his futon bed. But of course, what they didn't realize was that they were looking at something else. A pile of...
Yes, it was a dummy! A pile of wood.
Loose floorboards.
Yeah, a pile of loose floorboards. Yeah, I knew it. So obvious.
That they finally discovered the truth, and the alarm was sounded. Shiratori was long gone. Now, he had escaped.
Yeah, this ain't good. Look at their faces. They know they are dealing with a full-blown supernatural human being.
These videos, you'll know that things aren't always as they seem. In fact,
well, yeah, no crap. I mean, that's literally how life works. So I don't know what you're trying to say, Kento, because how life works.
AKA the prison break magician, this was only the beginning. 3 days later, he was caught trying to steal supplies from a hospital, and just like that, he was back in the slammer. But this time, for his escape attempt, he was sentenced to life in prison. He would never...
Okay, maybe not life in prison, but yeah, I mean, if you're stealing, like, very important medical equipment from a local hospital, then yeah, you do need to be thrown behind bars, but maybe not necessarily like that, though, because I don't really, honestly, more than half the time, punishment doesn't work. I mean, why don't we just do rehabilitation like what they're doing in Scandinavia? I mean, that's working fine for those people.
Be with his family again, his wife and his daughter, and all the months of time
damn, I
had
forgot he had a family.
Of freedom. It now seemed he'd be locked up for a very long time.
Well, yeah, no, if he's gonna be locked in there for life, then yeah, that's a very, very long time, unless he, like, kills himself or whatever.
6 years later, in 1942, in the midst of the Second World War, Shiratori found himself transferred to Akita Prison in Akita City. There, the guards treated him even worse than in Aomori. They had heard about Shiratori's previous escape and were determined to make an example out of him. They wanted to make sure he would never escape again.
Yeah, see what I mean? I mean, when you go, like, when you start going and all that crap, like, it doesn't work. Like, beating up the inmate just because, so he could learn a lesson so he doesn't escape from prison again. Like, that doesn't work. When does that ever worked?
Beatings, he was forced to partake in extreme manual labor, made to
and that too. Like, when does that ever work?
Severe winter cold, and placed into solitary confinement for extended periods.
Oh my God! Oh God! I could go on and on about the failures of solitary confinement, especially back in the 40s with all the disabled people, just anyone with, like, autism, let's just say, or Asperger's, or some other kind of medical or mental condition. I mean, they were just thrown into these padded cells.
This was a specially made solitary confinement cell, which was very small and had a very high ceiling, with the walls covered with copper sheets.
Yeah, I know, the ceiling looks really, really high.
In addition, there was almost no sunlight even in the daytime, with the only window light coming from a small sealed skylight high above. This was a room designed to keep escape artists
look at his
from
face.
escaping. And if that wasn't enough, the guards also made sure that Shiratori was handcuffed at all times. Now, despite the constant abuse, one of the guards, Kobayashi, in fact the head guard, took pity on him. Kobayashi never laid a finger, and even seemed to check up on him from time to time, concerned for his well-being. Perhaps this made life a little more bearable for Shiratori. And
yeah, but I mean, shouldn't you care about other people?
All the way to the night of June 15th. It was a stormy night, and
wow, look at that rain.
Of one of his extended stays in solitary confinement. At around
and let me guess, this is his second prison break. Like, all this is realistic. This all makes sense. I mean, 6 years have gone by. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like, I get it.
Midnight, one of the guards,
like, this is very, like, understandable if you're decently smart.
He opened the cell door and looked around in astonishment, as Yoshie Shiratori had vanished into thin air. All that was
yes, he just randomly vanished into thin air. How could he believe that? Like, if you're a prison guard for this, whatever the hell the prison facility's called, wouldn't you come to the conclusion that, oh shoot, I think he escaped his cell, his padded cell, and we must go after him?
Handcuffs. So how did he do it? Well, there were a few assumptions the guards made that did not apply to Shiratori. For one, handcuffs simply didn't work on him. Shiratori was actually a master of getting out of handcuffs, and in fact had several methods to choose from. Here, he decided to go with the familiar lock-picking method, but he really...
yes, the lock-picking method. Of course, he would do the lock-picking method again!
Could have gone with any of them. He had thoroughly scoured his surroundings to find anything that could be of use in an escape, and just like in Aomori prison, he was able to uncover a loose bit of wire. Perhaps...
Oh, yes! Yes, like, that's normal for a padded cell, to be some loose wire in the right side corner of it.
It was from one of the items Kobayashi brought him, but this wasn't clear. After freeing himself from the cuffs,
that could be more...
palms and soles of his feet on the smooth copper sheet.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is when things are getting kind of unrealistic, guys.
and started climbing.
I mean, he's literally full-blown Spider-Man right now.
Shiratori was also an expert climber with an uncanny ability to scale like a lizard. Once he reached the skyline
Yes. Maybe he's part lizard then. Maybe he's just part lizard.
above, he noticed that, yes, the window was sealed, but the wooden framing around it was starting to rot. And so thereafter, night after night, when the guards weren't looking, he climbed the copper walls and loosened the framing, bit by bit. Afterwards, he'd climb back down and place the handcuffs back on, as to not rouse suspicion.
Yes.
After a couple months...
Yes, pretend that you're not doing anything suspicious whatsoever.
The window finally came loose, and from there, it was just about choosing the right day. He waited until a particular stormy night, so the guards wouldn't hear the footsteps on the roof. And that was it. He had escaped from prison again. Now this time, he wouldn't be caught. Or, at least...
Not yet! I got you there, Kento! I got you! I know what you're all about!
3 months later, on September 18th, the head guard, Kobayashi, was at home when he heard a knock on the door.
Oh god.
It was the fugitive Yoshie Shiratori, unkempt and disheveled, and he needed a favor. A stunned Kobayashi took him in and fed him, all the while listening to what he had to say. Shiratori explained that he didn't actually mind being in prison, and that the only reason he escaped twice now was due to the tremendous abuse he suffered at the hands of the sadistic guards. Kobayashi, however, was the only one who treated him with any amount of respect, and so he felt he owed it to him to let him in on his grand plan. Now, this plan involved Shiratori willingly, yes, handing himself over to the Justice Department, where he could...
Wow. I mean, then again, he did break a law, or multiple laws, when it came to stealing very important medical equipment from the local hospital nearby, or at least at the other prison facility. Like, that makes sense. Like, I could see him realizing, oh, maybe I should have not done that, and, yeah, I should be behind bars for it. But other than that, like, no. Like, why would you voluntarily tone yourself in after you've already escaped?
And personally make a case for how...
You kinda just ran off into the woods and called it there.
Needed to be reformed. He wanted to campaign for change, and in the process, gain his legal freedom through a civil lawsuit. He felt this was the only way he could realistically end up with his family. This, of course, was a super ambitious plan, and as a fugitive on the run, he was well aware of that, which is why he needed Kobayashi, the well-respected head guard of Akita Prison.
Oh yeah, like he could trust him. Like he could trust him. He could be tricking him. Like, what if he's tricking him? I mean, like, didn't he ever think of that, or no? Because that was like that was his only option.
As the only guard who ever treated him right, he had a feeling Kobayashi would do the right thing. Minutes later, while Shiratori...
Or maybe Kobayashi wouldn't do the right thing. Or maybe he would get in trouble because of it.
Just like that, Shiratori was back in prison, and this time, he vowed never to trust an officer of the law again. For the second escape, the courthouse added...
Yeah, see, like, none of this is making any sense. Did this even happen in real life? Like, I gotta look this up. Guys, has this ever happened in real life? Like, please let me know down in the comments below.
3 more years to his life sentence. Now, Shiratori...
Oh my god, he still has his life sentence! Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep playing.
...to a Tokyo prison, where the weather was warmer, as he couldn't stand the cold in the northern prisons. His previous stint had weakened him severely, but he was denied his request. Instead, the judge sentenced him to the infamous Abashi prison in Hokkaido, the northernmost prison in Japan.
Oh, yes. Yes, this will be a good escape.
It was now 1943, and the cold was unbearable in Abashiri, as the temperature in the cells was below freezing point. Whenever inmates received their prison food, the miso soup and soy sauce would often freeze up.
Oh!
At this temperature, a handcuffed Shiratori was thrown into an open cell in summer clothing, and he immediately felt the paralyzing sting of cold air. Perhaps in a fit of desperation, he tried to force himself past...
You can't do that. You can't do that, guys. That's very offensive.
...the guards, but they were able to push him back and beat him down. An enraged and defiant Shiratori stood back up and vowed...
Bro, look at his face.
Just wasted fucking $500? $500!
This was his idea to voluntarily let himself, or let the law do their business and put him behind bars again.
...that he would escape from Abashiri prison, like he's always done, and that there was nothing they could do about it. He claimed there was little point even putting handcuffs on him, as he'd always find a way to break free. If not by lockpicking, then, well, this.
Yeah, so just like lock him, so just lock his arms up.
Handcuffs, to the horror of the guard.
Oh my god. He has super strength. He could climb up walls, he could do the lockpick thing, and he has super strength.
It turned out Shiratori had another special ability. Aside from his outstanding climbing abilities, he also possessed incredible strength, almost superhuman strength. Back in Akita prison, he could
so he's like a 1% human.
To put them back on. Now, this was impressive, but it wasn't so smart to lay his cards on the table like that, as the guards were starting to build an escape profile on him. They knew he had lots of
yeah, no, I was gonna say, especially if you do it right in front of them, obviously they're gonna know that clearly you are trying to make another prison escape attempt, and they gotta stop you at all costs.
Many abilities, and now almost superhuman strength. And so they set out to devise the ultimate escape-proof cell, one that was sure to be Shiratori-proof. And they came up with this.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Shiratori-proof at all.
With a low chance of rot. Any openings, even the bars removed, were made smaller than his body, meaning there was no way he could physically fit through. He had specially made solid iron handcuffs that tied his hands behind his back, and leg cuffs that made him barely able to stand. These cuffs weighed 20 kgs each and had no heel, which meant that they could not be lockpicked. And the only way they could be removed was by two metalwork specialists who would come once every few weeks to remove them in an arduous 2-hour process. Only this point that he could even take a bath. And he certainly needed one, as weeks of being shackled up with no movement meant his bones were infested with maggots.
That's disgusting. Not to mention that it's freezing cold, below freezing in there. So, all that stuff freezes. That's so gross.
On top of that, and as cold as it had already been, it wasn't even peak winter yet. Any strength he would have left would surely be nullified by the upcoming freeze. Though just in case, they still made sure to cut his already meager food portions in half. And so that was it. Even for Shiratori, this was too much. As winter came, he succumbed to his fate. Every day, the guards would slide his meal through the opening, and he'd be forced to grovel like a dog. His hands
or like a worm, per se.
Awkward and uncomfortable, with even sleeping being a pain. There was no doubt life in Abashiri prison was absolute torture.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Shiratori was somehow able to survive through the winter, and
somehow he was able to survive through the winter, and now he's gonna escape from this prison. And let me guess, because obviously I've seen this before, so I know what happens. He's gonna do the stupid thing where he shrinks himself, or no, because he has very what is it? He has very flexible skin or whatever, and I don't know. He does something, and he's able to squeeze himself in through the little tiny holes.
At the time, he didn't have the strength or stamina to mount any sort of escape, not to mention the restraints he was in. But one thing he did have was time and patience. Every day, the guards would slide his meal through, and while he struggled to eat his food off the floor, he always made sure...
Oh, shit! Oh, my God! Oh, the third prison escape is... damn it! How could I forget? The third prison escape was when he used the bowl of soup! Jesus Christ. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Every night, he would hobble over
inspection window, seriously, how did you...
on the steel frame. He would also
how are you this smart?
And leg cuffs. Now, his intention
was
for the
how would the bowl of soup loosen the door? How would that work?
The content of the miso soup to oxidize the screws and bolts, eventually corroding and loosening it.
Oh, wait.
This technique of rusting...
Wait a minute.
...actually worked, and the first screw came out. The next few months saw screws and bolts come...
I could believe that. Bowls of soup, who knows what's in those freaking watery things. So, I do believe that, that could be a result of, all this.
Loosed, assisted by
What
the
he's
use
trying
of
to
a front
do.
screw as a sort of screwdriver. By the end of spring, he was able to fully remove his handcuffs and leg cuffs, as well as the steel frame of the inside.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, this took time and
The
patience.
size of the opening was smaller than
Oh.
his body, which meant
Okay, so I was on there. I just forgot that the bowl of soup came first.
to fit through, a contingency thought out by the guards. What they didn't account for, though, was Shiratori's fourth ability. Which
Yes.
involved being able to dislocate his joints.
Oh, that's what that was. He probably feels no pain. He probably feels no pain because he has superhuman strength. He could climb walls like Spider-Man, and he could apparently dislocate his freaking head.
With this, he was now able to slide through the opening like a caterpillar. This repertoire of skills thus
Jesus
surely makes him
Christ.
an honorary member of the X-Men. The stream by observing the habits of bears.
Oh.
Steady and safe.
Okay.
But after a while, curiosity got the better of him, and so after 2 years of isolation, he
Oh. Oh, yes. Oh, super long beard, you know. He hasn't, like, bathed, especially in the creek or whatever, in months. Like, yeah, what a great life. I would definitely love to live that life after breaking out of prison 3 times. And the 3rd time using a bowl of soup.
made his way down the mountain to a nearby village. What he saw astounded him. The streets were filled with signs written in English. The posters and flags emblematic of the war effort had vanished. And even more strange, young Japanese girls were holding hands with American soldiers. What on earth was going on?
Yeah, what on freaking earth is freaking going on? Like, that's kind of weird. At that time, that was. I mean, this is literally 1945.
About the atomic bombs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan had surrendered the previous year, and he couldn't believe it. As with his wife, he felt it was now pointless to hide, and so bid farewell to his old hunter-gatherer lifestyle. He headed south of Abashiri for the next 50 days, until he reached the city of Sapporo. At this point,
Oh, wow.
so he found
Wow, no hitchhikes or anything?
from a nearby field, which was a huge mistake. A farmer had spotted him
Uh-oh.
and mistook him for a well-known local thief, which led to a scuffle, resulting in the farmer's abdomen being pierced by a blade. Sadly, he bled out and died. But
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that's technically self-defense? Because, I mean, he was attacking what's-his-name, and he had no choice but to defend himself. It's literally just like with Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, he had no choice but to shoot Rosenbaum and the 2 other guys out of self-defense because they were trying to kill him.
before Shiratori was arrested for the crime. It wasn't long until police found out that they in fact had the infamous Yoshie Shiratori in their custody. For his multiple escapes and having now murdered the farmer, despite his claims of self-defense, he was sentenced to death by the district court of Sapporo.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, he had it coming,
And in 1947, he was sent to Sapporo prison to await execution.
Sapporo
Now, to
prison.
ensure he wouldn't escape this time while on death row.
Oh my god, this
he
looks
was
like
placed
Squid
under
Game.
surveillance.
This literally looks like Squid Game. What the hell?
With 6 armed guards personally assigned to his watch. As for the cell itself, it was upgraded further from the one in Abashiri prison, with reinforced doors, ceilings, bars, windows. In fact, any openings were made smaller than the size of his head, not just his body, learning from the Abashiri escape. As while he may be able to dislocate his joints, he certainly can't dislocate his skull. As long as his head can't fit,
Oh.
the 6
So technically he can't dislocate his head. Okay. But he can dislocate everything else and be completely fine.
guards was so confident, in fact, that they didn't even bother cuffing him. Now, Shiratori was getting old, and the odds of escaping by this point were looking slim. As his execution loomed near, there was little he could really do, and the guards knew that. They could see the desperation on his face, looking up, searching for an escape plan that they knew would never come. Though, still, just in case, they made sure to search his room every night while he was taking a bath. In the bath.
Yeah. Way to go! Finally doing something for once.
Inspecting the ceiling.
Like,
skylight,
you could have done
and
this
the other openings.
years ago.
Passed, and winter was now coming, weakening him further. And the realization was starting to dawn on him. He grew increasingly
no crap.
disturbed, staying in bed, refusing to wake up, despite the orders of the guards.
The orders, man. Them.
This went on for a while until one morning the guards had enough
Uh-oh.
and entered the cell to discipline him. They flipped over the duvet.
Yeah, discipline him by shooting him with a frickin' revolver.
And he was gone. This was not possible. How did he do it this time?
He dug underground. He dug underground. That's how he escaped. He dug underground, right? Right? He dug underground.
To when he was first placed under 24-hour surveillance with the 6 armed guards personally assigned to his watch. He had in fact conditioned them to look up and keep up from the very start.
Oh, never mind.
Climbing through skylight windows on ceilings, but also his suspicious yet, as it turned out, very intentional behavior of constantly looking up to figure out an escape plan.
Oh, yes, I'm looking up. Trying to find an escape plan. Oh, but guess what? You could have somehow figured out a way to dig underground. Because somehow you find a shovel that you could dig underground with in your cell.
But this perpetual cycle of capture and escape was about to end. Because a year later, in 1948, Shiratori was exhausted.
Yeah, nope, he would be. It's been 12 years. 12 years of being in prison, escaping, living out in the wilderness, living in a remote house, all by yourself, out in the middle of nowhere. He is old, or at least getting older, and, he can't really be doing this for much longer. He's gonna have to retire this little mischievous game of his.
He was in his 40s now, and this was a young man's game. One day, in the Kotoni neighborhood, still in Sapporo, as he stopped to rest, a policeman just happened to sit by his side for a second.
You cop!
Didn't know who
You!
he was.
Sorry, I had to do that.
With him. Shiratori, of course, was wary of his presence.
Oh, and
Tried to play
you
it
for
cool,
smoking.
all the while
Smoke
attempting to
weed.
Figure out a way to remove himself.
Like, seriously, smoking weed is so much better for you than smoking a cigarette. Smoking cigarettes, literally, not only does it cause lung cancer, but you could end up with, black toes. And get your entire foot amputated.
From the situation without being suspicious.
Because, your vein, because your veins, the blood stops going through your veins.
Shiratori was stunned. You see, cigarettes were expensive luxury items in Japan at the time.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
His heart brought tears to his eyes.
Oh my god.
He had been abused and mistreated by officers of the law, with even the head guard Kobayashi turning his back on him.
Yeah, sit! I told you, Kento, he would betray him.
It was an instance of an officer treating him kindly, with respect, and with
yeah, like what human beings supposed to do to another human being?
To tell the officer his full name.
Oh god.
Shiratori.
Oh god, that's... If you watch Cop Conspiracy, if you watch Here's the Deal or other conspiracy theorist channels out there, that is the number one thing that you should never, ever do unless you, have no choice. Because once a cop knows your name and your identity, they could easily track you down and come up with some excuse to possibly put you behind bars.
From Sapporo prison last year. In fact, he had escaped from prison 4 times in his life.
I know. I already know this.
Off his chest, and he was even
oh my
ready
god.
for the consequences. After the Kobayashi incident, he had vowed never to trust another officer of the law again. But the simple act of receiving a cigarette from a stranger broke him. Of course, he was arrested again, but this time...
Okay, I'm done. This is ridiculous. This is fake. There's no way this is real. I don't believe any of this. I'm done. Get this out of here. Bye.